The stars had never felt so distant until Captain Kyle Morrison stood upon the bridge of the research vessel Horizon and gazed at them as though for the very first time through alien eyes. The year was 2387, and humanity had unlocked the mystery of faster-than-light travel only 3 months prior. The modest fleet of 3 ships embodied everything humankind had imagined since they first stared into the night sky and wondered what awaited them beyond. Kyle straightened his uniform and studied the readings on his console. They were 47 light-years from Earth in a system where long-range scans had revealed unusual energy traces. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stood nearby, inspecting her instruments for the 100th time since their arrival. She was Earth's leading xenobiologist. If contact with alien life came, she would ensure the first meeting unfolded without disaster. Captain, multiple signals detected on sensors, Lieutenant Jake Collins reported from his station. 12 vessels inbound from the inner system. They're massive, sir, far larger than anything we've constructed. Kyle's pulse quickened, though his tone remained steady. Open a channel. Tell them we come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic ties. The main display flickered, then filled with a sight that made every soul on the bridge recoil. The alien stood 12 feet tall, its scales glimmering like forged black metal, eyes of glowing yellow light fixed upon them. When it spoke, its voice rumbled deep, carrying the weight of restrained disdain. I am Commander Vexar of the Zepyrian Dominion. You will name your species and justify your trespass in Dominion territory, at once. Dr. Hamilton stepped forward, forcing her tone to remain even. Greetings, Commander Vexar. We are humans of the planet Earth. This is our first journey beyond our solar system, and we seek peaceful dialogue with other intelligent beings. We bring no harm, only knowledge and friendship. The alien released a sound that might have resembled laughter, though utterly devoid of warmth. Humans, yet another primitive race that barely crawled from its cradle. You now stand within the dominion of the Zepyrian Empire. We have ruled this galaxy for 10 millennia, and every species within our reach serves us in whatever manner we demand. Kyle stepped forward. We didn't know this territory belonged to anyone. If you wish, we will leave immediately, but we would accept the chance to learn about your people, study your culture, and perhaps open trade relations, Commander. Vexar leaned in, his yellow eyes narrowing as though inspecting an insect under glass. You fail to grasp the circumstance, insignificant creature. You have trespassed into Dominion space and are now subject to Dominion statute. Your species will undergo evaluation for assimilation into our empire. Preliminary spectral scans classify you as Category 9 primitives, suitable for manual labor and alimentary processing. The verdict struck the bridge like a blunt impact, a crushing blow. Dr. Hamilton replied first. Alimentary processing? There must be some error. We are an intelligent civilization with developed technology. Intelligence is relative, Vexar said. Your machines are crude and primitive. Your frames are frail and poorly armored. You possess no natural weapons or armor. Your lifespans are miserably brief. The Dominion has cataloged over 400 species, and your kind ranks among the least useful in practical application. You will relinquish your vessels at once and submit to processing. Captain Morrison felt fury curling in his chest, yet he forced his composure into diplomacy. Commander, we recognize your claim, but we must politely refuse. We do not intend to contest your dominance, but we cannot hand our people over into bondage. Perhaps a different accord can be negotiated. The alien's expression shifted, and Kyle understood he had provoked genuine astonishment. You decline a direct command from a Dominion commander. No race has dared resist assimilation in more than 3 millennia. Your ignorance of protocol is recorded, but will not absolve your rebellion. We are not rebelling, Kyle said carefully. We are asserting our right, as a free species, to choose our own destiny. We will withdraw from your systems peacefully, but we will not capitulate. Commander Vexar rose to his full stature, and Kyle noticed other Zepyrians assembling behind him. They wore the same black metal-like scales and yellow eyes, some larger than their leader. There are no free peoples within Dominion space save the Dominion itself. Your refusal to accept existence will not alter the truth. You will surrender, or you will be annihilated and your people reduced to servitude regardless. Dr. Hamilton made one final appeal. Please, Commander, surely we can reach a peaceful resolution. Our species may be nascent, but we possess much to contribute. We are inventive problem solvers and quick to learn, adaptable to new technologies and roles. We could be reliable allies instead of coerced workers. Allies? Vexor gave a sound like contemptuous laughter. You are soft-skinned mammals who cannot survive in most environments without technological shelter. Your world is a single planet barely able to sustain your modest population. The Dominion governs 847 star systems. What could you possibly provide that we do not already command 1,000-fold? The transmission cut and warning klaxons began screaming throughout the vessel, red lights strobing the bridge. "Captain, they are arming their weapons," Colin shouted. "All 3 of their lead ships have locked targeting solutions on us." Kyle seized the communications console. "All ships, this is Morrison. We are taking hostile fire. Evasive maneuvers now." The first energy bolt bloomed in the void like lethal fireworks. The human craft were swift and agile, yet the alien beams were devastatingly potent. The research ship Discovery took a direct strike and detonated, unfolding into a sphere of superheated plasma. Captain Morrison watched 23 crew vanish in an instant and understood that humanity had just made its first and possibly last contact with alien life. "Jake, get us out of here," Kyle commanded. "Full power to engines. Plot a course back to Earth now." The horizon shuddered beneath another strike that shredded their aft shields. Consoles sparked and systems collapsed across the bridge as they pushed the engines far past safe limits. The third vessel of their fleet, the Explorer, was hit twice, spinning helplessly with gaping hull ruptures. Lieutenant Collins barely pulled them clear of the immediate crossfire, but Kyle's screens showed the alien warships closing fast. They outpaced the human craft with ease, their weapons reaching farther and hitting harder. The only reason the humans still lived was because their hunters seemed to be toying with them instead of ending it swiftly. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Explorer," the COAM's officer said. "Captain Rogers is alive, but they've lost engines and life support. He's asking if we can evacuate survivors." Kyle stared at the tactical readout, his heart breaking. The Dominion fleet was closing, and the horizon hardly had the reserves to escape at all. "Tell Captain Rogers, we can't risk the entire crew. Tell him Earth will honor their sacrifice." The channel shifted. Commander Vexar's voice again, this time stripped of all interest. "This is your final warning, primitives. Yield now or watch your fleet burn. Resistance is useless. Your defiance delays nothing." Kyle clenched the microphone, his reply carved into history. "This is Captain Kyle Morrison of the United Earth Space Command. We reject your ultimatum. We reject your dominion over humanity. Call us primitive if you wish, but we are free and intend to remain so." The alien commander's laughter was chilling. "Then you have chosen extinction. When we come to your world, this conversation will be remembered. And as your species is processed, your rebellion will cost you even mercy." The horizon leapt to light speed just as the Explorer detonated behind them. Collins slumped unconscious at his station, blood streaking his face, but his hands had carried them clear. Kyle stared at the void where 2 ships had perished moments earlier, weighed by the thought that he might have just sparked a war destined to erase humanity. Dr. Hamilton worked trembling hands across her sensors. "Captain, they're not pursuing. I think we escaped." Kyle nodded grimly but found no comfort. They had survived but carried home dire truth. Humanity was not alone in the stars, and its neighbors saw them as nothing more than cattle. The era of human isolation was gone, and the age of survival had dawned. 6 months later, the horizon limped back to Earth bearing the revelation that reshaped the world. Everything humanity believed about its place among the stars had been overturned. Kyle Morrison's report sent shockwaves through every nation, uniting humankind in a way nothing else ever had. President Amanda Foster faced the emergency session of the United Earth Council, her audience a sea of fearful yet resolute faces. General Crathmore of the Zapirian Dominion dismissed the human affair as trivial while reviewing orders. 50 warships struck him as excessive for a primitive planet, yet High Command insisted on protocol. He had subjugated 47 civilizations in his career and expected humans to kneel after one demonstration of Dominion might. Intelligence gathered from the brief skirmish painted a clear picture. Physically frail, no natural armor or weapons, primitive technology, small, lightly armed vessels. Most importantly, they displayed the mammalian emotional fragility that made species easy to dominate once proper fear was instilled. Colonel Ryan Brooks watched the Martian dawn from New Denver colony's armored windows, wondering if it would be his last. Earth's warning had reached Mars 3 days earlier, and every outpost in the outer system braced for war. They had drills, tools, and mining rigs, not warships, yet they had resolve and whatever ingenuity they could muster. When the Zephyrian fleet arrived at Mars, the colonists prepared a reception no alien conqueror had ever faced. General Crathmore anticipated the humans would plead surrender at the sight of his mighty armada. Instead, he received a transmission from Colonel Brooks that left him utterly perplexed. "This is Colonel Ryan Brooks of the Mars Colonial Defense Force. You are not welcome here. Withdraw from the system at once, or face the consequences." General Crathmore chuckled at what he assumed was empty bluster. "I am General Crathmore of the Zephyrian Dominion Military Command. You will surrender this colony immediately and prepare your population for processing. Resistance will only bring your destruction." "Then you'd better bring more ships," Brooks retorted before cutting the channel. The first Zephyrian strike team, 300 armored elites, expected cowering civilians hiding inside fragile structures. Instead, they marched into meticulously prepared kill zones where every street had been converted into a trap. Humans had wired buildings with improvised explosives built from mining gear. They used the colony's atmospheric processors to unleash choking gas clouds, forcing the invaders to fight sealed inside heavy suits. What shocked the warriors most was that the humans refused surrender, even in hopeless conditions. Every block had to be seized room by room, with defenders fighting in ways no military manual anticipated. Maintenance drones became mobile bombs, infrastructure was repurposed into weapons, and ingenuity turned every corridor into a gauntlet. Dr. Helen Carter worked feverishly in her underground lab beneath New Denver as detonations rattled the walls overhead. Her study of Zephyrian brain scans from the first encounter had uncovered something extraordinary. Human neural activity was completely resistant to Zephyrian psychic domination, the very method that had pacified every other known race. "Colonel Brooks, this is Carter," she transmitted through the emergency net. "Their mental control doesn't work on us. Whatever they attempt to compel surrender will fail. We're immune." Above ground, Brooks wielded the revelation like a weapon. He ordered his fighters to disregard the mental pressure pressing against their thoughts whenever alien commanders projected dominance. Human soldiers, who should have been paralyzed, instead surged forward with attacks so reckless they appeared suicidal to their enemies. In Colorado Springs, Admiral Greg Thompson coordinated Earth's defenses, watching in awe as Mars reports poured in. What should have been a swift victory had devolved into grinding urban warfare. Every outpost fought with methods that alien tacticians found insane. The defense of Europa Station became legend when colonists exploited the moon's low gravity and heavy industry to devise weapons the Zephyrians had never imagined. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez converted the entire mining complex into a colossal trap that obliterated over 200 invaders. For the first time in his career, General Crathmore requested reinforcements. Human resistance was unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered. Most conquered peoples yielded after 10% losses, yet humans fought on even when outnumbered 20-1. Their methods defied military orthodoxy. "High Command, this is General Crathmore requesting immediate deployment of the 7th Battle Fleet to the human system. Local resistance far exceeds intelligence projections. The primitives are employing irregular warfare our forces are ill-prepared to counter." Dominion High Command's reply dripped with exasperation. "General, you are reporting difficulty suppressing a Category 9 primitive race despite deploying a full subjugation fleet. Clarify the precise nature of this resistance." Crathmore struggled to explain. They refuse to recognize defeat even in hopeless situations. They employ suicidal tactics as a matter of course and seem to regard death in combat as preferable to capture. Their armaments are crude, but used with maximum psychological impact. On Titan, Captain Linda Hayes commanded 300 civilian volunteers against 1,000 Zephyrian elites. She had no training beyond Earth's crash defense courses, but she carried what the aliens could not comprehend, an unshakable will to exact a price for every inch of ground. Titan's hydrocarbon plants became hellscapes of fire and debris. The colonists weaponized the moon's methane atmosphere, igniting infernos that consumed entire formations. Hayes personally led strike teams through industrial warrens the armored invaders struggled to navigate, most unsettling too. General Crathmore was unsettled by how human tactics evolved in combat. Other species followed predictable patterns shaped by biology and custom. Humans, by contrast, adapted their methods constantly. Each clash taught new lessons about fighting the Zephyrians, and those lessons were immediately applied to the next engagement. Dr. Patricia Wells pored over captured alien hardware in her Earth laboratory and made findings that overturned everything humanity assumed about its foe. The Zephyrians were technologically superior, but their technology and doctrine had remained static for millennia. Complacency had set in after 10,000 years of near-effortless conquest over races that surrendered to the same old methods. "Admiral Thompson, this is Dr. Wells," she reported over secure lines. "They aren't adapting because they never had to. Their military doctrine depends on crushing superiority and swift victories. They lack experience with sustained resistance. Admiral Thompson used that insight to craft a defense that turned human liabilities into strengths. Rather than race to match alien tech, humanity doubled down on unpredictability and staying power. Every settlement became a killing ground optimized to bleed an occupier. The siege of Siri Station dragged on 3 weeks and cost the Zephyrians more casualties than they'd suffered in the previous century of conquest. Commander Betty Clark held the station using converted mining gear and asteroid tunnels turned into an underground fortress. When the siege ended, only a dozen humans remained alive, but they had slain more than 400 alien warriors. Crathmore filed a report to High Command that grew darker with each line. The primitive species designated humans exhibits resistance beyond prior assessment. Recommend reclassification to Category 6 and immediate reinforcement for subjugation. High Command's response altered the campaign's tenor. "General Crathmore, you are relieved of command. Warp Prime Zool will assume operational control. Full mobilization authorized." For the first time in over a millennium, vast Zephyrian reinforcements gathered for what they expected to be a decisive strike. Admiral Thompson studied casualty reports that told a contradictory tale. Humanity was losing battles, but exacting unprecedented costs. 2 years after the first Zephyrian assault, the galaxy watched a phenomenon without precedent. A primitive species not only surviving Dominion onslaughts, but driving them to stalemate. Warp Prime Zool stood aboard the battleship Eternal Dominance, puzzling over reports that defied doctrine. Somehow, during 24 months of relentless fighting, humans had achieved the impossible. They learned to wield Zephyrian-style tactics while retaining their own chaotic edge. Engineer-turned-strategist Alex Parker had reverse-engineered captured systems and produced hybrid weapons marrying Zephyrian power cores to human targeting. Every fallen alien device became a tool against its makers. Captain Nina Rodriguez walked the corridors of the newly commissioned battleship Defiance and marveled at human ingenuity. The vessel dwarfed anything Earth had before the war, integrating alien shielding with human armaments, designed explicitly to kill Zephyrians using everything humanity had learned. Warp Prime Zethol amassed 500 warships and 50,000 elite Doom Guards, the Dominion's finest, to the human system, certain a single coordinated assault would crush resistance. He expected to end the war in one crushing blow.